You're listening to Turi Writer's She Said What podcast. I'm Turi, along with Marcy Persky. In this installment, decorating your kids' room in order to scare their wits out of them, and a bathroom ritual Marcy, and possibly you, would rather skip. There is this piece of art, and we've spoken about a family member recently deceased. This family member bought this piece of art at a charity auction. And on the one hand, the guy's getting famous and it's probably going to be worth more money every year. But on the other hand, every single one of the people in the family absolutely hates it. Absolutely hates it. So awful, this thing. And when
we have one of those too.
When the family member purchased this thing and hung it on a wall, every single person who came into their home said, what, why did you buy that? It's horrible. And the person who had bought it said, I wanted to support. And I thought it was really interesting. And it was really good. And by the time the fourth family member protested that it was one of the ugliest things that they had ever seen, the painting came down. And I could have been, I'll just take that and then sold it for money. But it didn't seem right. So now, in addition to knowing that I'm about to get rid of something that is truly, truly nausea inspiring, I have to wait around for the person who's picking it up to sell it to come. So now I have to invest time, but at least I don't have to look at it, which made me wonder, would you rather stuff your house and store valuable things that you can't stand, or stuff your house with non-valuable things that you actually like?
And stuff my pockets instead. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I would rather store a bunch of really crappy stuff that I actually like than something that's worth money that I can't stand to look at.
I would rather stuff my pockets with gold and silver and paper if it's worth that much. Usually something that I think is worth a lot of money winds up being fake in my life.
When did that happen to you?
My whole life.
Oh, God. All right. So art, it's a particular thing.
I'm really art picky.
Right.
I'm super art picky. I don't like anything modern. It's just like a Rorschach test to me.
So
I don't understand it. I don't want to look at it. My parents used to go antique shopping after the Stratford Shakespeare Festival in Canada. They would always come home with something cool. Once they came home with these giant 2 paintings. One was this very unattractive young girl, and an even more unattractive young boy was the other one. They had very stern face. I mean, they were not happy children.
Beaten.
They were fugly. They were very unattractive. Well, I had 4 kids, and all 4 kids were scared to death of these paintings. I mean, it just like scared the living heck right out of all 4 of them. I never asked why they bought those, but I was old enough to just ignore them. So after both my parents passed, I was like, who wants these? And I think my brother took them and put them in his guest room.
To scare people so they didn't stay too long, I bet.
Exactly. So they didn't stay too long because you had this like just really awful looking mean boy and girl staring right at you like they could jump out and strangle you.
Oh, boy. Maybe this is the thing that parents do. But if you think something's going to be really cool for your kids, it's probably a good idea to ask them about the time that they hit the 5 or 6-year-old mark, how they feel about them.
True.
Periodically, my father, who was a university professor and really should have stuck with the laboratory and his research, but he would get an idea for a business. And early in the marriage of my parents, which lasted about 70 years, early on, he had some idea that he would import these, they were called Chinese junks. They were a boat that you could live on.
Oh, yeah. I know what those are.
Okay. So he thought he would import these and they would make him and my mother, these business tycoons. And the whole idea was nuts. I mean, they actually did bring one boat back, but he went to Asia, he went to Hong Kong, and while he was there, he bought, I remember two things. He bought silk dresses for my mother and for me in a size that only petite Asian women, I don't even mean regularly sized Asian women, could have fit into. Nobody ever, these dresses hung in our closets for years because they were beautiful, but they made you feel terrible about yourself. The minute you would pick it up, you'd be like, where are the shoulders of Japanese women? What anyway, he also brought back some artwork, and some of it was lovely. But he thought, because I was maybe a year old, that he would decorate my room in these pictures of these Japanese wood sprites. And these wood sprites looked like mutant people. And they scared the crap out of me. They had like little pointy noses, like hedgehogs, but they were people, and they had little stripes on them. And they were doing things like playing instruments. I hated these things. They really, really, really scared the living daylights out of me. And then it turns out my sister took these because I didn't want any part of them. And she put them up in her kids' rooms. And I said, you mean they didn't scare the crap out of you? She said, yeah, actually, yeah, they did. And I said, well, why would you put them in your kids' room? She said, I figured it was just me. So this is the kind of thing. I mean, you think you're doing a great job there. Oh, look, this is so cultural. There was also a color print of these little Asian children running from a terrible thunderstorm, which is really also, you're teaching your kids, if there's lightning, don't go under a tree. That's dangerous. And then what do you hang on the wall of their room? 3 kids who, by your recent education of them, your kids will believe are about to be electrocuted where they stand. I mean, the whole thing was bizarro. And it's just one of those things that parents do to kids thinking they're being good parents. And
my mom had these 2 small pictures hanging up in the bathroom at their house, and it was like ladies from the 1800s or the early 20s, I don't know, but they're naked and dancing with scarves, like,
oh yeah,
I don't know,
oh yeah,
fairy women
I know
without wings.
I know the type. They're very romantic little women, nude and dancing with scarves. Yes.
They always made me laugh every time I went.
With a child's imagination, I can see that. I mean, you're naked. Why would you want to be dancing around with a scarf?
Yeah, well, they still make me laugh when I think about them. But my eldest daughter asked for them, so they're hanging up in her bathroom. And we just went to visit her, and I saw those hanging in her house.
It
and I
cracked
just
you up
started
all
to
over
laugh.
again. It's funny you should say that. The bathroom decor. People put stuff in their bathroom that they feel is appropriate for the bathroom, often featuring nudity or racy humor. We as you know, rent our house in California, and it needed some work on the vintage stove there. It's a big old Wedgwood 1950s stove. So we've got this guy. We'll just call him Mr. Rutherford. Mr. Rutherford, for a while there, he was living in a garage with stove parts. Like, he's a quirky guy. And I have to warn the tenants every time Mr. Rutherford is coming that they may not have a conversation with him because he's very, very chatty, and he will charge you for the time that he's standing around chatting. One time I made him lunch before I knew this, and he charged me for the hour that he ate my tuna melt and talked
Oh my
about the
God.
Kennedy assassination. So I warned the tenants, like, just direct him to the stove and call it a day. He'll fix it and I'll pay for it. So they said, thanks for the heads up. And then I got this message back. He went straight to the stove right after he asked to use our bathroom. And we think it's because we have some really elaborate lesbian art in the bathroom, and he was just speechless after that. And I said, that could do it. That now I'm thinking, okay, when Mr. Rutherford has to come to anybody's house, I should just send every tenant a print of some really erotic lesbian scene and ask them before he arrives to just prop it up in the bathroom, and it'll save me at least an hour on each visit.
Here's what's hanging up in my bathroom.
Yeah.
And I don't know that you will get it, but at least two of our listeners will.
Okay.
It's a big picture, okay? And it's wrestler slash actor John Cena.
I have no
He's
idea.
the like you can't see me guy, and he's in a lot of movies now. And he's Peacemaker on HBO, very popular show.
Okay.
And it's a cross of his head with the body of Xena, Warrior Princess, and it says John Cena.
Okay. I get the joke now, but why the bathroom? Where else
Why
are you going to
not?
put it? Yeah, I guess now that you
Yeah,
mention it.
yeah.
I don't know why I even asked that question. That has to be one of the
So-
stupider questions I've ever asked you.
Now I do have something about bathrooms, though.
Oh,
I want to know whose idea it is that women should shave their armpits and their legs, and why men don't have to. I'm one of those people. We've already like cemented this in everyone's minds. I should not be around sharp things ever, ever.
ever.
Okay. I just took a shower and shaved my armpits and can't lift my arms further than this
Oh, man.
because I literally shaved all the skin out of my armpits.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like, as I'm doing this, I'm going, why am I doing this? My husband doesn't care,
No, he really doesn't.
but society cares.
Well, come
and
on.
I want to know why.
Wear something that doesn't show your armpits.
Well, I am. I'm wearing a t-shirt.
There you go. You got a million. You've been looking for an excuse to get those T-shirts out of the closet. So just quit shaving under your
want-
arms. Either that or wear the T-shirts so that you have something to bleed on.
I just want to know why we're supposed to.
I don't know, but I will tell you that your first premise that only women have to do it is mistaken. And I'll tell you the first time I realized that. I was working in San Francisco at a rock station that was targeted to women. So, of course, when the Chippendale dancers, who at that time were a big deal, came to town, we had to invite them on. And then we had somewhere, actually, there's a picture of me online with my arms around and their arms around me, the Chippendale dancers. And I put my arms around, and I was not at all interested in any of the Chippendale dancers. Mostly because I knew most of them were gay, and also because I thought it was
Yeah.
a ridiculous way to make a living. And unless you were putting yourself through medical school, there's just no excuse for it.
All the strippers I know, by the way, are putting themselves through medical school.
Oh, yeah, they'll tell you that.
I want to add that.
Medical schools are full of strippers. Anyway, I put my arm around this guy, and it felt weird. And I realized that I had touched his shoulder stubble and that he shaved his shoulders, his back, so he could oil up and look sexy. And I can't describe to you the level of revulsion for a guy with stubble where his shoulder should be. And to this day, I can conjure up that feeling of putting my arm and getting my picture taken with this guy who looked really cute while resisting the urge to like throw up down his G-string. It was very difficult.
Being up here, all I see are hairy guys. They have big beards, lots of hair on their heads, and I don't want to see any of them naked to know if they shave their bodies, but my guess would be no.
Well, we can just then assume that if you're not planning to be a Chippendale dancer, you should move to northern Arizona and live at the edge of the Grand Canyon. And there you will find numerous women who also do not wish to shave any part of their bodies. If you're not going to pluck yourself or shave yourself, you should not.
No, those are the men.
Right, but you should not complain if women don't want to do that. I think that's the rule. It comes back to my same view of other parts of the body, where if you have the privilege of looking at it or being near it, then you should just accept that that's a privilege and feel like you have no right to comment on any part of it other than to heap praise and compliments. Like, those are the most beautiful hairy armpits I've ever seen. Can I braid them for you?
What about nose hairs?
Oh, without a doubt, revolting.
Would you offer to braid someone's nose
No,
hairs?
everybody has to clip their nose hair and ear hair. That's a rule. I'm going with that rule. And the world knows this because every Christmas, hopeful women give middle-aged guys items
nose hair
and
clippers.
and you laugh, but you think this is how women are trying to communicate. This is like Morse code from women to men. I am buying you this because the hair growing out of your nose is disgusting.
Yes.
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 Well, it's good that we've been able to give this healthy advice to people, and I hope that they will all consider next time they're standing at Walgreens and they're looking at a razor that costs as much as their light bill will that month, that they just think, yeah, you know what? The hell with it. Thanks for listening to Turi Ryder's She Said What podcast. Assuming you like what you heard, you might want to leave us a good review and maybe pick up my book, She Said What? A Life on the Air, which you can get from your independent bookseller or that giant website that sells absolutely everything.